From downtown Scranton, this is Northeast Current. WQPX invites you to join us as we explore public affairs, current events, and arts and culture in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. Now, let's meet today's guests on Northeast Current.
Welcome to Northeast Current.
Hello everybody, my name is Jim Cullen. I'm the director of the People's Security Bank Theater at Lackawanna College, and I'm here with my good friend from PennDOT, Mr. Mike Toludo. Mike, I'll let you take it over.
Thank you. We're here tonight for the opening of our Teen Safety Forum. This week it is National Driver Teen Safety Week, and we're here to discuss that safety issue tonight.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for being here. I want to start by saying that you just being here and listening to us tonight could help keep you safe, potentially save your life or save somebody else's life, and that's important. As Jim mentioned, we're here for Teen Driver Safety Week, and throughout the remainder of the evening, you'll be hearing from our panel of experts. Each one of these people is a member of our community who cares very greatly about our safety on the road and plays a role in ensuring it.
I would just like to add what Chief Graziano said. The seatbelts are huge. I mean, we've had a couple accidents in the last couple weeks where the passengers or the driver of the vehicle traveled outside of the compartment of the car, and there is no safety in doing that. You can hit traffic signs, guardrails, other vehicles. You have absolutely no chance if you travel outside of the car. So seatbelts. But I will tell you that, I think, it's like the slide with the corner in it. I mean, when we're involved in these cases, there's no backing up from that. I mean, it is what it is. And I think as a society, we all think that we're somewhat infallible when it comes to operating motor vehicles or just life in general. I mean, we just think nothing is going to happen to us. We have vehicles now that, have outrageous prices, but have all these safety features in that are designed to protect us, and they do work. And they do work if you buckle your seatbelt or you remain in the car. But the bottom line is, I can remember very few, and I'm a paramedic since 1977. I remember very few crashes where a tree fell on a car or they hit a deer or something like that. These crashes are all because somebody did something ridiculous. I mean, I tell kids when I go into the schools, I say, kids today have all the choices in the world. They can do they could be whatever they want to be. They can do whatever they want to do. Life is ahead of you. But when you or a friend or somebody that is in control of you does something stupid, people pay for that. And I think we all as a panel, everybody here, shares in the ungodly grief, horrific experience when you're dealing with the family that has lost somebody in a car crash or something that happened because it didn't have to happen. And, like, they're saying, like, how did this happen? We should have done more. But again, it goes back to us feeling infallible in all these situations. And common sense prevails over everything. When you're in a snowstorm, you can't drive fast because you can't control the vehicle. It's like driving at night, driving in a rainstorm, driving on leaves, driving on roads that you're unfamiliar with. And then the distractions and everything that go along with that, it doesn't work. So I guess we just need, as a society, we're responsible not only for ourselves or the people in the vehicle. Carl said, seatbelts. We've had people that have been killed by the passengers in the back seat of the car that hit the passengers in the front seat of the car. So when you're a driver in a vehicle and you're putting your seatbelt on, like Chief said, everybody in the car has to. When you hit something at 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour, everything in the car is a missile that always has the potential of inflicting very serious or fatal injuries on everybody else in the car. But again, it goes back to what we're doing as a society. We're responsible for everybody else. that we interact with, whether it's a pedestrian crossing the street, whether it's a car traveling in the opposite direction. If you're distracted by your navigation or your phone, or you're daydreaming even, and you travel over that center line, or you travel over the line to the right and you hit something, I mean, this poor guy today was changing a tire off the side of the road, and obviously the person that hit him, I mean, we don't know this yet, but I can't imagine that they had to swerve to hit them even. If they're in the traffic lane, they don't hit them. But again, this is something that we all as a society have the ability to influence and have the ability to control if we just simply pay attention to the task at hand, which when you're in a motor vehicle is operating the vehicle. And that's really where we're at.
And going along with what Timmy said, he started as a paramedic in 1977, the same month that I started nursing at CMC in 1977. So we've been working together for a very long time. And just what the rest of the panel talked about is, you know, we see, unfortunately, in the emergency department as a trauma center, we see probably a lot of the injuries, and we're calling Tim to come in. If we have to call Tim to come in because we have a tragic accident, obviously that's not good. We have many, many accidents, though, that patients are injured. You know, we talk about people losing their life from accidents, but people can become disabled as well. You know, just think about somebody that's young, that's in an accident and has that broken neck that Jamie had in her film there. If that's the only injury, obviously sometimes they have difficulty breathing because of that injury, but if nothing else is injured, you know, we're putting them on breathing tubes, and if you're young, you can live in a breathing tube or with a trach in a nursing home for years. So just, is that how you want to spend the rest of your life? Think about it. Or have your parents then at your bedside for the rest of your life while you're in a wheelchair hooked to a breathing machine because you had an accident and broke your neck. Again, you know, we talk about fatalities and accidents, but they're not all fatal. But some of them have severe, severe, devastating injuries that can affect you again for the rest of your life because you're all very young and you do have a long life left ahead of you. And there's nothing worse. We've talked about the police coming to the door to notify parents of a death, but it also is horrific for us on the other end. You know, you get a phone call that says your child or loved one's been in an accident. No one thinks that it's a severe, horrific accident, right? We don't tell people on the phone. You know, we just say we're calling from the hospital, so-and-so's been in an accident, are you able to come down? Okay, we try not to, you know, because then that person coming to the hospital could get in an accident because they're upset or distracted or their mind is running amok. But then they get there expecting to go in and visit their loved one and, you know, are they hurt? Do they have a concussion? Did they break their arm? And then we have to tell them that their injury was so devastating that they didn't survive, and it's horrific. And there's nothing worse than listening to a parent scream or cry. We've had them throw furniture. We've had them punch holes in the wall because that's how they express their grief. They don't have any other way to do that, and it's not easy to sit there with them while they express their grief like that. So again, just be mindful when you're in the car of the people that are also going to be left behind when you're in an accident. And Mr. Hensis, he gave my both kids driving lessons because me as the trauma nurse, I could not get behind the wheel of the car with my kids because I just saw every 30 seconds that they were going to be a trauma, and I couldn't deal with it. If you've ever seen the thing on Facebook where it goes around that says if you don't never go to the hospital or see a doctor unless your head is hanging off because your mother's a nurse, that was me. But I always thought something horrible was going to happen, so I was not the best driving teacher, but Mr. Hensis did a great job with them. And again, be mindful, pedestrians also. We're talking about distracted driving. Please pay attention when you're crossing the street. Look at the traffic lights, stop texting and looking down at the road. Don't wear black clothes and step out in front of moving traffic. We've had more pedestrian accidents lately too, Tim, that people are not crossing at intersections, they're not paying attention, they're texting while they're crossing the street, all kinds of distractions that way too. And seats, we didn't talk about car seats. Right. We've had some accidents recently where children are not properly restrained in their cars. So just be mindful of that as well. And now that I'm the old grandma, I just had to buy a new car because I can't fit 3 grandkids and a booster seat, a child seat, and an infant seat in my car. So I had to upgrade now because I've got the old grandma and the 3 kids in the car. But You know, my 4-year-old grandson is always trying to say, Grammy, I need this, Grammy, get me that, Grammy, look at this, and I just say, I can't look right now, and I've actually trained the 7-year-old. They've listened to me enough, and this is where parents are going to come into play. He says, Luke, she's driving, that's dangerous. She can't turn around. So, and he's 7. So if nothing else, start impressing on them very young. Parents, be the example for your children, and you kids be examples for the younger children. Don't let them see what you're doing, because children learn what they live. They think it's normal, they think it's okay because their loved ones are doing it. So set a good example for those around you.
Mr. Henzis, do you have a thought to share?
Well, first of all, I appreciate having me here, and the panel did an excellent job in answering the questions. And the most important thing, and 3 of my students here from my SAT organization, I'm very happy they came tonight. And when they leave my class every day, as Mrs. Miller said, I tell my students, I love you, have a good day.
I think we were just given a lot to think about, and thank you all for sharing kind of personal stories. I'm going to give you one last chance. Any more questions? I have an uncle who is an EMT and a firefighter, and one thing he always said to me that stuck with me is, I've never had to unbuckle a dead person. Something that plays through my head a lot.
Unfortunately, people, even with seatbelts and airbags, people do die in car accidents. But the statistics are much more in your favor being buckled in than they are if you're not buckled. If you're not buckled in, you're forget it.
And depending on the year of the car, today's cars have many airbags in them, or multiple airbags in them. And we've had police cars that had front-end collisions that the airbags didn't deploy. I wish I had the answer to say why in that particular case it didn't. I've seen it personally where cars that are hit in the front end, the airbags are supposed to go off, but they're mechanical devices, and like any other mechanical devices, they do fail. And we can't rely on them. They're there as an added level of protection. It doesn't mean that they're ultimate level of protection. But there's things that we can manually do, such as putting our seatbelts on, not engaging in distracted driving, paying attention to the roadways, not getting in a car impaired, that all of those things, if we do all of those things and we have the safety devices, there's still, as Coroner Rowland said, there still may be accidents where, or crashes where you may be killed. But the odds are much greater if we do follow all the rules and use all the safety devices and engage in safe driving practices.
The data actually reflects that we've done an excellent job in reducing impaired driving across the board, from teens to adults. So it's worked. So programs like this, law changes, policy changes, there's not one thing that's going to change the culture that we have on today's roadways. It's a multitude of things, but you've all started, and parents, you've started tonight. So I hope that your young people that you brought here will give you an extra special hug, because these parents really, really care about you and really love you. So it's all of it. So yes, it has worked.
I want to thank you all again for being here and participating, or even just listening. It could really make a difference. It means a lot to us, and thank you all to the panelists for sharing your wisdom with us. Is there anything that you would like to say in closing, any of you? Thank you. Thank you very much.
I just want to say to everybody, just make sure when you're in your vehicles, just be safe. I have a little thing, actually, James May and I kind of had this thing. I would say it, and then one day he came up with the acronym. Whenever you get behind the wheel, we say the word pass. If you say, remember this every time you get into your vehicle, which is, P for no phone, A for no alcohol or anything addictive, S for no speeding, and the other S is to always wear your seatbelt. You would arrive alive to your destination. So again, that word is pass for no phone, no alcohol or anything addictive, no speeding, and always wear your seatbelt. You would arrive alive. So always think of that word pass, and you'll get to your destination alive. So remember that, and I hope everybody always arrives safe. And thank you for coming, and thank the panel, and thank everybody for coming tonight, and always be safe on our roads. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to Northeast Current. I'm your host, Jason Miller. And with us this morning is rock star Sheryl Crow. She's a 9-time Grammy Award winner who has sold more than 50 million albums around the world. She is best known for her hit singles like All I Want to Do, If It Makes You Happy, and Soak Up the Sun. Sheryl was diagnosed in 2006 with breast cancer, and she is now cancer-free. She is making her 10-year anniversary since her diagnosis. She wants women everywhere to know that early detection saves lives. It saved hers. She joins us this morning via satellite with Dr. Linda Greer for some information about more accurate screenings. If breast cancer is found early, the 5-year survival rate is nearly 100%. Sheryl, thanks for joining us today. Can you talk to our viewers about your personal battle with breast cancer and how it changed your life?
Yes, I was diagnosed 10 years ago, and I was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer. I was very healthy. I would have been the last person I would have thought would have been diagnosed with a life-threatening illness. It was a real game changer. That moment when the doctor tells you that you have cancer, any multitude of things run through your mind. Am I going to die? Is life ever going to be the same? And I think every woman experiences that. I was lucky, and I'm really the story of early detection, and I don't take that lightly. I spend my time talking to a lot of women about being diligent, about getting a mammogram every year, starting at 40. And this year, I have the great pleasure of talking about advancements made in technology. My cancer was detected early on a conventional mammogram. This year, I can tell people about the Genius 3D mammogram, which has the capability of detecting cancer 15 months earlier.
As you are advocating for breast cancer awareness, what do you enjoy doing when you are not behind a microphone?
Well, I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old, so I've been a mom now for 9 years. It's the most awesome thing ever. I love it so much. I am blessed that I don't think about my cancer anymore, except for when I go and get my yearly mammogram. It has informed my life in every way, in the fact that I know what my priorities are. I know how to put myself first, how to take care of myself. I get up in the morning, I make my kids breakfast, I take them to school, I pick them up in the afternoon. In between that is my creative time. I've been making records. In fact, I've just completed my second record this year, and both of them will be coming out really soon. One of them is very collaborative with a lot of artists I've loved, from Keith Richards and Stevie Nicks to Willie Nelson, and I even have a song with Johnny Cash. And the other record is a conventional Sheryl Crow record. And in the middle of all that, I'm talking to you about breast cancer and encouraging women to be a part of the statistics of survivors.
What advice do you have for women who are newly diagnosed with breast cancer?
I tell women who have been newly diagnosed to try and keep things as normal as possible throughout your treatment, whether it's just a lumpectomy and radiation, which is what I had, or whether it's something more drastic, mastectomy, reconstruction, tamoxifen, whatever the after treatments are, to try and keep those things that you do on a daily basis normal, so that you feel like you're still centered and you're still in your life, because it can be so confusing. Arm yourself with information as much as you can. And for women who are in their 40s, make sure you're diligent about getting your mammogram. And I talk to women all the time about the lesson that goes along with diagnosis, which for me was learning to put myself first and take care of myself before trying to take care of everybody else in the world.
Dr. Greer, can you talk to our viewers about early detection of breast cancer?
Well, breast cancer is actually fairly treatable, and the survival rate at 5 years for really early stage cancers approaches 100%. So my goal as a radiologist is to find things when they're small enough so people really can have the minimal treatments like radiation and lumpectomy versus mastectomy, reconstruction, chemotherapy. That way these ladies can get back to their lives much faster, and it's less expensive and it's less traumatic. And the Genius 3D mammogram has allowed us to really find these cancers at a much earlier stage, 15 months earlier on average than the standard mammograms can find them. We have a 41 to 50% increase in invasive cancer detection. It's reduced the false negative recalls that can cause a lot of stress to people as well by about 15%.
Dr. Greer, can you tell us more about the new technology of the Genius 3D mammogram?
Well, the 3D mammogram, instead of looking at the breast just all squished together like a standard mammogram, now we're looking at 1 millimeter thick slices through the breast, more like a CAT scan or like looking at pages of a book. So it really eliminates all that superimposed tissue and it really provides a much better exam. So we are here to urge you to please find one near you. Go to genius3dnearme.com. You can enter in your zip code, find one near you, and ask for it.
Any last minute thoughts for our viewers this morning?
We really believe strongly in this 3D technology. I've been using it since 2011, and I really can attest to personally the strength behind it and being able to look someone in the eye when you're giving them that horrible news and say, listen, no, you're going to be fine. You have to go through 6 months of stuff, but you're going to be fine. And to assure them that this isn't a death sentence, you're really going to be okay. That's strong.
It's been really fun and great talking with Sheryl Crow. Keep rocking, Sheryl. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, thanks for joining us right here on Northeast Current. I'm your host, Jason Miller. That was great, right? When is it? Question and answer time. Don't put this on the blooper. I'm shot rock and rye with a T, you know? Sorry. I'm thinking Guinness beer. Come here a minute. Check this out. Let me talk to Dr. Greer here. Here we go. Let me start it over. I think we'll need a weekend at Bernie's again sooner or later. All right.